My name is SJ the Artisan, and I represent 1093 Entertainment from Youngstown, Ohio, and now we're in Shenzhen, China. What I love about Shenzhen is the fact that it's a young city, but it also gives you the opportunity to create history. And I've been a part of some pretty cool historic things. I know other rappers and brands that have been a part of some really cool and interesting history, here in Shenzhen. So I think the biggest thing for me is just being able to create history and also help, create other people's history in Shenzhen. I think that's probably the most rewarding part. So some of the things that I've done in the past were the Battlegrounds over at Solo Club. That was a project that we did for about 2.5 years. And so, I had my boy Ishak, he was the promoter, and I was the host. And so we did a lot. We did a lot to promote the quality and the culture of hip hop to Solo Club. And so we did a whole lot over the last 2 years. And then the summer of 2020, we did a Sound of Summer showcase where me and my boy Rosaire, so we did a lot of stuff all over Shenzhen because we couldn't really leave Shenzhen during the pandemic. So we just did like a citywide tour, and we just hit up all of our friends who own businesses and got them involved, and so we brought them some business. They gave us some discounts, and yeah, we had a really fun time with that. So those are two of the biggest things that we did, and it was really it was a moment in time where we just got everybody together, like everybody in the city, like who was doing either music or was part of the bar scene, food and beverage. Like, it was really good. It was really, really good. My last trip before the pandemic, I went to Japan. And so when I came back from Japan, usually in Shenzhen, it's pretty quiet during Chinese New Year time, but this time it was like a ghost town. So I didn't really fully understand what was going on. Like, I saw on the news that the announcement had been made that COVID was officially a thing. And so for that amount of time, from February to April, there was not much to do. So I did this series called My Story So Far. And so it was basically kind of detailing, everything that happened from 2007 up into, my first couple of years in China. And so we kind of briefly went through a lot of the stuff that had happened. Not just with like 1093, but also with me personally. And so we did that, and then afterwards released a bunch of singles, kind of just went back to regularly scheduled programming until February 2022, and that's when all the lockdowns and all the craziness was happening in Shenzhen. And so at that time, I think everybody was frustrated about where things were going, and it didn't seem like there was an end in sight. So it was just really hard to plan events. It was hard to get things done, just because there was so much uncertainty, So, but I'm kind of glad that we, as Shenzhen people, we went through this experience, because now we can look back on it and be like, okay, what can we learn from this? How can we do better? I would say there's a lot of positivity in my music. I don't really talk about things that I didn't experience, but I do try to have a lot of motivation, and I try to just have fun with it. Aside from relatability and motivation and positivity, I also try to push my pen technically. And so listening to people like Eminem and Nas and Tupac, T.I., Jay-Z. Like, it's just a lot of these people, like, I listened to growing up, just had a real technical ability with their pen. And so I felt like, you know, for me, I wanted to be respected as an MC too. You know, I wanted to be respected as someone who was not only, you know, good at like swaying the crowd, but also with the stuff that I'm actually saying. So, you know, there's a lot of rappers out there who, you know, they rap a lot, but they're not saying nothing. But for me, I always wanted to like have some sort of nugget of something in my raps, and I think that's what a lot of people really appreciate about me and my music is I try to have some sort of substance in whatever it is that I'm writing. I feel like now hip hop in China is being commercialized, but I felt like a few years ago it was more underground. People were really starting to appreciate hip hop back then. But I think for me now, in my opinion, I feel like hip hop in China is still kind of in its infant stage. Like, it's still popular and it's still commercialized, but I think the level of culture isn't what it is in America. But that's just because hip hop is 50 years old this year. So like hip hop had 50 whole years to develop in the US, whereas here it's starting to develop and it's starting to have some of its own identity, which is pretty cool. I think the biggest thing with being an artist is that you just have to be not afraid to take risks. And if you keep on the path and you stay consistent, then good things will happen. So that's kind of like my final thoughts about this interview and, you know, where I think the future is going to go, because I think things are looking up in a very positive way. So you guys can find me anywhere that says SJ the Artisan. You know, whether you YouTube me, Google me, you know what I mean, Wang Yi, QQ, Google, anywhere in the world, you know, you type in SJ the Artisan, you will find me on your favorite social network or your favorite music app. From this girl, this is taking the next move.